Up. Back to the ground. Where the fuck you go? Alright guys, Sky2Quaddy here. Looks like I'm going to have to rebuild the 9-inch. Not because of the frame. It took another hard hit. The HGLRC 60 amp ESC has seen its last days. I never really had much confidence in the HGLRC brand, but surprisingly this one did take a lot of crashes into trees, asphalt, train tracks, but this last one was just all it could take. So we're gonna find out what this 100 amp ESC from DarwinFPV, how it will hold up. So it's waterproof, 100% waterproof. The only thing I don't like is that I'm only going to be able to use an XT60 with it, not my thick XT90, which I do prefer, but oh well, you got to use what you have. So let's see how this performs with the 9-inch. But guys, this frame, $65 shipped, Amaxxinno FL9. This thing is indestructible. You cannot break this thing. The crashes that I've had, any other 9-inch would see its last days, and it's still going. All right, guys, let's get to the build, or the rebuild. All right, guys, this is interesting. This is the Zeus 60 amp ESC HGLRC trash. This time it actually took a couple good hits. Last one took it out, so like I said, we're replacing it with the DarwinFPV 100 amp ESC. It was going to make it a 6S, but look what I just noticed, guys. Flight controller is 8S, and the ESC is 8S for 100 amps. I believe that I'm going to reduce the motor output from 1150 to 900 kV and make it a 6 and 8S 9-inch quad. All right, guys, let's do this. All right, guys, we are back with the build using the DarwinFPV 100 amp ESC, the cement. And like I said, a couple issues that you may or may not appreciate. Number one, all of the flight controller pins, you need to solder them individually instead of plugs. It's just not plug and play. So it's going to be a lot of really tight soldering. So you're going to need a real narrow tip to get that soldering done. Number two, all of my 10 volt, or both of my 10 volt regulators are out. They don't work. So I ordered on Amazon, and I'm not sure if this is going to work. May not. It's a Bex 6S, but it's 6 to 30 volt. I am crossing my fingers that it will take up to 33 volts to power up the Vista, because that right now is the only thing that's not working. I do have a 60 volt Beck coming in tomorrow, so we'll see how this one plays out, but I do have backup. And I did test the 8S, 6S, and other variants with different motor outputs for the 8S, of course, and they do work. I keep switching back and forth from Betaflight, from the Pitons, and it goes from 6S to 8S and to 4S, and I'll demonstrate that later on when I get my camera to work properly. All right, let's get to work and install this back. Okay, I have the Maytech 30 volt BEC in back, and it's working with the Vista unit. Everything works in the goggles. And when I touch it, this is 24 volts. It's warm. It's warm. That's at 6 volts. Now let's go ahead and connect, that's 6 volts. It's at 6S. Let's go ahead and connect 8S, which is 33 volts, 33.6. Guys, 3,300 milliamp 8S. Time for tuning. Okay guys, Sky2 Quad here, back with the Cement 100 Darwin FPV stack. 3 things that were kind of deal breakers for me so far with this. Number 1, you saw in the beginning, you have to wire every single connector from the flight controller to the ESC, which is a pain. It should just be plugs or already come with it attached and waterproofed. Number 2, for me, and it's probably a personal unit, but the 10-volt regulator did not work, and so I am having to experiment with individual regulators, which I did actually get the Vista unit to work. Number 3, this is huge for me, guys, because I love to basement PID tune my quads. So if we look here on Betaflight, you need to use the black box for it. And this is $132 flight controller ESC. No black box on board. Says you can log to external logging device such as OpenLagger using a serial port. Configure the port on a ports tab. That infuriates me. That infuriates me. There's no reason for this to not have a black box on board. And it says on their site, let me see if I can find it. This is so misleading. This is another reason why I got it. Look at that. On board, 4 gig massive black box. 16 meg capacity for F4 flight controller. Where is it on this one? Yeah, it's on the F4, but you would automatically assume with this price that you would have black box on the F7. That's insane. That's insane. So what I was able to do is I had my previous PID tune on this 9-inch, and I'm going to load it onto this quad or this with a Cement flight controller, and yeah, and cross my fingers basically, because I really rely on seeing the motor noise as I'm doing the PID tune. So those 3 things alone, unless this thing flies like an angel with my previous PID tunes, I could not recommend this if you do basement PID tuning or any type of tuning that requires black box logging, because you literally, maybe, am I missing something here, guys? It looks like you need to get an external device. Wow. Okay, moving on. All right, guys, out with the Amaxxinno on 8S with the Darwin FPV 100 amp ESC combo. I have a lot of interesting perspectives about this flight controller stack, and right now here's a tip. I'm using a 5-volt USB to get my satellites, because it takes a long time to get satellites. So yeah, I'll let that do the work for me while I set up. One thing I don't like is I'm already getting breakup. I don't dig it. Video is like really bad. All right, feels a little smooth on 8S. Plenty of air time. Flies smooth. It's just the video that I don't like. Up. Back to the ground. Where the fuck you go? Did you see the big bird fell?
Yeah, it's right there in those bushes, right there, behind that tree.
Whew, bushes are good. Yeah, battery came out. Props.
Yeah, they're good for drawing.
Thank God. Nothing else broke, but I need that camera.
There's a piece in the
Yes, that's the main one. Let's see if it's still recording. Ah, it's recording. Whew, still recorded.
Where do you get this stuff?
I have to make them. Just like he probably makes his cars and stuff, I just make these. So,
Oh, you make it yourself?
yeah.
Wow.
So I had to build the whole thing. Parts. And to test it, it flew good, but yeah, it's very powerful. So, but the props are really expensive.
Oh, there's this thing is broke.
Yeah, the props are expensive, so
Oh yeah, true. Yeah.
they're like $3 to $5 a piece. So that's a meal. You go ahead, break. All right, man. Take care. Oh, you haven't? Yeah, this is probably my biggest one that I've built so far. The other ones are really small. Jack. All right, guys. I don't know what happened. It powered. I think I had low power when I did the power loop up there, but look at the damage again to this frame is nothing. I've got a broken prop, as you can see. Recorded the flight, so we'll see how or what happened, what noise it made when it actually went out. Other than that, batteries, thank goodness it fell right in the tree, in the bushes. These three motors seem fine. This one is a little bit grainy. This frame, guys, I'm telling you, it has taken a beating. There's nothing more indestructible, I feel, than this Amaxxinno frame. It is Yeah, I would challenge anybody with their 9-inch frames to compete against how durable this thing is and how it flies. Well, after a decent tune. And that's another thing. I wasn't able to really tune this setting with 8S because the Darwin FPV 100 amp ESC does not have black box, which is horrible. I cannot understand why an F7 flight controller wouldn't have black box on board when their website says that it does. Really, really something. Okay, so that's that. All the motors is kind of grindy. It's got dirt in it. That motor is still spinning, just has dirt in it. That motor spins, that motor spins, that motor spins. Okay, we're gonna put in just a 4S pack just to see if we get connection here. I'm not getting. Okay guys, after the crash that you just saw, frame is still intact, not a scratch on it. Fell through, lost power on top of that second tree and just fell to the ground. Again, nothing happened to the frame. I had bad video signal and it just went out. Everything as far as the motors, they seem to spin properly, but this 100 amp ESC, yeah, looks like I'll be using that warranty card unless there's a wire loose and I have to figure it out, but I'll figure it out later and I'll let you guys know. But so far I've had 3 strikes with the Darwin FPV 100 amp ESC. Connecting, had to solder all of the front ports because there's no harness. I had to solder everything individually, which was kind of a pain. No onboard black box, which is incredibly insane to not have at this day and age. And 10 volt back, my regulator did not work, so I had to buy another back instead. And then just this crash, and I don't have the second tones on the ESC. So let's figure it out. And so far I'm not giving Darwin FPV thumbs up or thumbs down. Right now it's in the middle like this because it did fly good. All right, so let's bring it back to the shop and analyze it. So I think what happened at the last punch out I did blew out the flight controller, not necessarily the ESC. So I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt on the ESC part of it, that maybe it's still 100 amps and it can still handle it. So what I do have to test that out is this, what is this called? It's this SL Racing F7, and it handles 8S, and it has black box on board. That is one thing that I dislike about this stack, and actually the marketing of the stack, because they deceive you. It's misleading. I don't want to say they deceive you, but it's misleading when they say there's a 4 GB massive black box storage on the F4, but yet the F7 doesn't have black box. That's kind of crazy. I mean, at least it does not show up on Betaflight 4.5. And as you saw in the previous video, not the video, but the previous videos that I shot of this, that Betaflight, when you plug it in, it says that you need to get this auto logger or black box logger, which I did order, but too late now because the flight controller is definitely dead. So before I do actually switch out the ESC before it comes in, I think this weekend, I'm going to install this flight controller that I wanted to save for an octo quad, but oh well. Let's get this one back up and running. And I will be able to basement PID tune this for both 8S and 6S 9-inch. So I'm gonna go 9-inch with 6S and 8S with the 8-inch propellers, whatever. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm not gonna give it a complete thumbs down, but I will give the flight controller a thumbs down because I had those previous issues. So that's what I got for now, guys. It still flew great from my old tune. Hope you guys enjoyed the flight. Let's do like a part 2 of this. Oh, and this frame. You saw the drop. This is like my, I don't know, maybe freaking 8 or 10th drop with this freaking bad boy. There's not a 9-inch frame on the planet. You could show me one that is designed to handle the crashes that I've had, the durability that I've had with this thing. It's off the freaking shelf, man. I mean, it's ridiculous. And the fact that I only got it for $57 shipped at the time, and I have 3 of them now, It was a no-brainer. There is no other F or 9-inch quad that is as indestructible as this frame. None. Period. Anyway, that's what I got for now, guys. Let's put in the other components and try this again. Sky2Quaddy saying have a blessed week. Signing out.